It's there.
First test.
Just as we are beautiful, we know that.
No.
But
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
but
now
the
let's
presentation?
put the presentation there and see what the presentation looks like on the screen.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
it's not there. Why is that?
Oh.
Okay.
Because there is this delay, you know.
Okay, perfect.
And if we go further, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah.
This and this. How much can you see on that
And it's
presentation?
some delay there, so we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to
Wait for it to see.
Yeah, it's not. It could be better in quality a little bit, or is it the lowest one? Just
So we have to.
like that is not good because it's getting stuck, but this is not good also. So
Ale já si říkám, že ty dvě se bere líp.
Aha.
To vypadá líp.
I think this is totally cool to see this happening, you know.
Okay, this is much better. This is like
Okay.
oh, this is really good. Yours is shit a little bit, but
We love technology.
yeah, this is good.
So if you make
Maybe
some
we can
books
put it
here, we can
here.
actually.
This is too crazy, but I think if we put some real books there, it might work actually.
There are
Yeah.
some books. Yeah.
That's just for the presentation, right? So other than that, we don't need it.
Yeah, no, it was good. Oh, okay, there are much more people there. Much better.
Are they having fun?
Yeah,
already?
yeah, much better. Ooh, I see stuff we can hear and see.
Okay, I'm going to get some books.
This is funny.
I think we should already stay connected.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
They don't
think
want to get disconnected now.
I
It's,
think
it's
they-
10 minutes to go.
they want to be involved.
Yeah, they know we're here.
Hey guys.
Okay.
This is funny.
Hey, this is really funny. Like mentally disabled a little bit, but it's okay. What? Oh,
Not
you
okay,
have
but-
also EGEA t-shirt. Wow.
Yeah,
You're prepared.
What is happening? Yeah, this is not possible, I think.
Hmm? Like, we can ask them if they see. Hey guys, is it good? Like, can you see the screen? Just wrote X or something if you see it.
And can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear us? Oh. You should share the live stream in the Facebook group. So you posted there?
It's on YouTube. And yeah, it's in the event.
You should share your live stream.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we don't need the thing here. Or maybe we do because you will be sitting, so you want to
Sound
stay.
is perfect. That's
Because
good.
we're here. And is it loud enough for them to hear us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they told
Maybe
us
we
it's
can-
good. Sound is perfect. Hear you, we can hear you. We can official group.
Oh.
Share also in the group more people can see it.
Okay, right. I will do it with this computer.
Okay. Do I have time for a toilet?
No!
This is not a good idea.
Hello.
Добрий день. So we will start at 6.
I
As
would
planned?
say
Yeah.
as planned, yeah.
But that's cool, yeah.
Let's hope it stays working.
But until now it's okay. Now
I think we should. Well, maybe in the beginning we should somehow say who's connected to us, who's watching us. If you have any information, you should read them over the. Or we should read them over the.
actually we can just text the people and they can like just make a comment here. See who is
And then you can read who has responded.
Yes.
I think that's the most natural way to do it. Uh-huh.
No,
Okay.
And the loser is
že nevydržíme.
the loser is in Prague. So maybe she will come back and I say so maybe they will come
Yeah, sure.
They want to see it from the start. Yeah, well, we can test it. Or actually, you know the easiest way? Just stop it and restart it. I think we already
Yeah, but
Yeah, they're there.
yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah, that's it.
So this we can just discard.
This was the first one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So actually we don't even have to end the live stream. We can just end the recording.
And restart the recording. And we
Yes.
have it without
This is
clipping anything.
Sasnan, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, that's recording.
Cool. Yeah,
Can
yeah.
things be seen on the screen? I think yes.
Yes.
Sort of. Because I don't think that we need to make it totally clear. You know, the delay is terrible.
Okay, so
How to disappear from the screen? It's 6 o'clock. So I will restart the recording. We can start.
So, hello, we are here for the electure.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a totally new thing for all of us, I guess. For Florentin, our Erasmus student from Graz, we are here in Olomouc in the Czech Republic at the Palacký University in this beautiful Moravian city of Olomouc. My name is Martin Jurek, and we've got how many? Around 10 people here in this room with us. And we don't know who else is connected, so maybe you can write to us over the chat and see how many people are actually watching us right now. And what are we here for? Florentin has started this idea of doing an e-lecture on climate change, which is a topic. I don't know if this topic for you is something that's totally regular, something that's already boring, just like other topics discussed today, or if it's something that's already gone in its topicality, or if it's getting more interest already with the new things that are happening in the world. What is your opinion? What will you say to this? Don't be afraid to speak. I can turn this on you so they see you. Don't feel that you're safe. Okay, wave for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And now say what do you
Come
think.
on, wave a little
Okay,
bit.
what do you think about climate change? What do you think about climate change? Is it interesting? Well, it must be some kind of interesting for you because you're here. Or is it just being on YouTube for you that's interesting? That's for you.
I think it's very important topic, and it really needs to be addressed. And in my opinion, still people doesn't have like enough idea and knowledge about like the importance of climate change. And actually, it's kind of a new topic, climate change, and I think it is going to affect the life of people from all over the world. So I think it's very interesting, and we are so happy that we are here, that we can listen to this important topic.
Okay. Okay, well, in my opinion, it's kind of surprising to me to hear that you see it as a new topic, because for me, it's been a topic for 2 decades already. But maybe it's a new topic again, you know, because it was a huge topic like 10 years ago with the fourth report, assessment report of the IPCC, when they were in 2007 telling us what's actually happening with the climate. And after that, the world economic crisis has somehow changed the view of what's going on, what's important, where to put money. And many people started to say climate change is spending money on things that are not necessary, you know? And now the crisis is over, but the climate change topic is still here. So maybe we are now discussing what's going on. And I wanted to show you one thing. When you look at the EPA, I don't know if you're familiar with the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States. When you look on their climate change section, this page is being updated, you know. Like, what does that mean? Florentin, what do you think about this? Why do they say that this page on the US EPA website is being updated?
Yeah, I think everybody knows of us, like there was election in America, and there's a new administrator of the EPA. His name is Kutbrat, or yeah, and he's actually connected to the gas companies, and he will make a new format of the EPA because he went to court against EPA already. And I will show you statements afterwards that are changed on the page of the White House. But the EPA is of course also instrument of the
So the new American administration is actually putting their voice into, we want to get rid of this bullshit. Sorry for that word. We want to get rid of this nonsense of climate change spending because it's ridiculous. And we will cancel EPA, we will cancel this topic in the United States, which is kind of a new point of view from the United States after 8 years with the former President Barack Obama, who was very much in favor of all the green advancements that were happening in the United States. When we look at another page, which is actually the YouTube, so we're going home, there's a statement by somebody who is now the new French President, Emmanuel Macron, and you can see in the subtitles here that he's actually doing a very bold statement to the scientists in the United States. He's actually saying that those in the United States who feel like are now being cut on the budgets, on the money funded for climate change, are encouraged to come to Europe. Because the climate research in Europe is not being cut on its money, and he's actually trying to say that we're going to reverse the brain drain in science and trying to make Europe more important in climate research. That's what I think he's trying to do. I think this is kind of an important message for the United States and for the world that France has been making. It's actually natural because in France the Paris Agreement was signed roughly 2 years ago or 18 months ago, and this new agreement is trying to find a new common ground over climate change policies around the world. And I think we can see some new things happening already in Europe, and not only in Europe, also in Asia. Well, what do you think? Okay, let's do this now.
How is the topic, the title? I will just put it to the chat.
Just on YouTube find Macron climate change, and it will be the first link.
The exact title is
Emmanuel Macron climate change.
in HD. Yeah. So you can watch the video on this link for all people who are joining from somebody else. Like, by the way, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people joining until now.
Great.
Hello.
Hello.
On the live chat.
Great. There's another thing. We're putting these videos without voice here because we don't want the feedback from the microphone, but I think you can see it and you can watch it yourself. This is a trailer to the so-called Inconvenient sequel. I don't know if you have seen or if you know about a documentary called The Inconvenient Truth. It was out in 2006, and its main speaker, Al Gore, has now entered into making the sequel to this 11 years after, and showing what has actually happened in climate change research and in climate change in the world in overall in those last 11 years. You can't see the documentary yet because it will be premiered in the summer on July 28th. So then in the hot days of summer you can search for the documentary. Okay, The Inconvenient sequel. And for those who don't want to wait, I have a recommendation on watching, if you have access to, of the documentary series by the National Geographic Channel and the Showtime that's called Years of Living Dangerous. So they're already in their second season. The first season from 2014 had 9 episodes The season 2 from 2016 had 8 episodes, and what is it about? It's actually always somebody who's known from normal daily life, who's like a celebrity or somebody important in the United States, like actors, politicians, and other people who are entering different topics of climate change around the world. They're traveling to Asia, they're traveling to Latin America, to Europe, to Africa, and they're looking at forests, at icebergs, at glaciers, at rising sea levels, and all the other topics that you can see covering climate change research and knowledge about it recently. So I think you can also watch this for more information. And maybe now I would hand the word over to you, because Florentin has a presentation over climate change, very much in a nutshell, because this is a topic that could be covered by courses and programs at universities, and already is, you know. But we should do some preparation in the information, and then you've got some specific comments on a workshop that you have taken part of. Okay?
Okay.
So it's up to you, and maybe now to make the presentation be more visible, I will just put the monitor in front of the camera. We know how to do things, right? But it's too many books. We'll see.
Well, I think this works out, huh? Yes. Just a little bit in front.
Yes. I think we need more books. Do we?
No, actually, I think it is okay, yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it
it's
okay?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of bulky, but I think they will understand. Okay, so it's
Perfect.
yours.
So, just have to find the presentation somehow.
Let me do it. Let me do it for you. I'll just put the mouse here, because now I'm in front of the computer.
Ah, perfect. So.
You can help yourself. You don't need me anymore.
Okay. So, to everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Florentin. I'm an Erasmus student from Graz, and I made a workshop with Veronika Kovasova from Brno at the Euromed Congress in Slovenia. I will tell everybody who is here in Olomouc more about EGEA after this presentation, because EGEA is a cool thing. As you can see, we make e-lectures and other things. So I will introduce this afterwards to you. What I have for you is here. Oh, what do we have here? Here.
You've got it there, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we have here the temperature that is rising since 1880, and this is in all European countries, and I had this especially for Slovenia, because in our workshop we were in Slovenia, so you can see from 1961 the temperature is rising, as Trump doesn't believe us. And I have a video here, what is causing this. Maybe can you turn to the video? It's here on the desktop.
Which one do you need?
The one on the desktop. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated.
Well, I really don't know what you are searching for, so I can't help you that much. Let's find the desktop.
Yes.
Aha.
Exactly. And here you can see like the biggest emissions are coming from North America, from Europe, and from Asia. From here, from the south, there is coming nothing actually.
Maybe you should tell us what's the gas. It's carbon dioxide, right?
Yes,
what do we see here?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's from the satellite images of NASA, and it's from 2006. So now it's even more. And you can see this is in February. And if we turn this to summer, you can see it's getting less and less because we have vegetation here in the northern hemisphere. It's getting summer. The trees are getting the emissions into their photosynthesis. Yeah, thank you. And here we have winter, so here is more heating, and you can see even in Africa there is some emissions. And in the winter again, it's getting, of course, like worse and worse. So this should show this is actually from NASA, and it was under the Obama administration, so not connected to Trump. And this is the natural disasters since 1960, I think it is. And you can see earthquakes, they were quite the same. In our workshop we discussed if earthquakes are rising. There are theories, actually. One guy said, yeah, because of the ice shield that was melting, the whole world was rising in Europe, and that's the reason why there should be more earthquakes, but there is no data until now that earthquakes are rising. But all the other natural disasters, it's not visible here really good, like storms and floods and droughts, they are rising. We had, for our workshop in Slovenia, we took the flood risk manager from Aqueduct. They put all the data they found together, and they analyzed the affected population in 2030. And you see in Slovenia, we will have affected population of 20,000 people. Compared to Czech Republic, where we are now, we have 90,000 people, but it's still nothing compared to the Netherlands, because there will be 600,000 people affected, but this is annually. Like every year, 600,000 people will be affected by floods in Netherlands. And this is with a calculation of a 10-year protection, so they are building already protection for a flood that will be every 10 years. But still 600,000 people are affected by this. And you can also see the GDP and everything. You will find it under the flood risk manager in Google. It's really easy to find. Here you can see if our temperature is rising globally, 4 degrees, this is London, there is not much left. There is the Parliament, Big Ben, and the whole London will be flooded. Hurricanes in the United States. This is the index of the PDI. So not the storms in general will be more, but the intensity will rise and the frequency. And you can see here the rising in the next years until 2100. In the Alps, I'm coming from the Alps and I like to ski, but we had a global rise of nearly 1 degree in the whole world. And in Austria, we had in the Alps 2 degrees in the same time period. So Austria is really affected by this, and you can see this the best in this graph. Here is a curve so that you can see. This was the current snow with the total volume of the snow and the altitude where the snow is. And this is the snow that we will have with a increase of 4 degrees of the global temperature. So the snow will go down in the volume and the height also a little bit. And this is our biggest glacier actually, the Pasterze. This is a picture from my father, he was there in 2002 and I was there in 2013. And there is quite a lot of difference in 11 years. And even worse is if you watch it from here, 1938, not really good time for Austria, and 2013. But you can see the difference. This is our highest mountain, actually the Großglockner. We are proud of this. In Czech Republic there is no mountains. And this is the glacier was here in 2005. This is a photo taken from 2013. And the glacier is here now. And you can see here is the material of mud. And this mud is actually black. And that's even worse for us because white is reflecting and black is taking all the energy. And this is getting, the process of melting is getting faster because of this. And in Switzerland, they built big plastic sheets and put it on the black stuff here to get more reflection, and it's not really effective, I think, for covering whole mountains into plastic. And you can see in 2010, this is a difference of 3 years. Also other glaciers, here big glacier, small glacier, Turkey Cottage was getting bigger a little bit. And also in Africa, Lake Chad, we had the whole lake in 1963, 2007 we have a little lake. So you can see in all continents we are affected. Now, the scenarios. We are here around 2000. if we would have no emissions, we would be here in 2100 because there is still CO2 in the atmosphere. But there are also other calculations, A2, B1, and A1. Like this is low emissions, medium emissions, and high emissions, and we would be here nearly 4 degrees rising of the global temperature. This is a global temperature. In Alps it could be more affected, in other countries it could be less affected, but in the global average temperature it will rise 4 degrees with this. And the impacts on this, you can see here, like glaciers disappears at 2 degrees, decrease in water availability at 4 degrees, and other things like rising density of storms, which will go on the warmer it gets, because there is more energy in the atmosphere and in the whole system. And I have here, if you would go for 1.5 degrees until 2100, the sea level would rise 40 centimeters. That's still okay, but like coral reefs would die for 70%, and of course decreasing global production of wheat and other products. With 2 degrees, we have 0.5 meters. It's still okay, but Netherlands would be disappeared probably. Of course, also global production is going down. Already reduction of fresh water, and a long-term rising of 2 to 10 meters. And nearly all coral reefs died already. With 2 to 3 degrees increase, we have nearly 1 meter rising until 2100. The fresh water is going down for 14% probably, and already plant and animal species are going to die, like until 50%. And we have a long-term sea level rise of 10 to 15 meters. 3 to 4 degrees increase, we will have 1 meter, and it's getting worse and worse, with chance of droughts are rising, and sea level is rising 13 to 15 meters long term, and doubling of wildfire compared to the 2 to 3 temperature degrees increase. And 4 degrees increase, it's getting much worse, multi-meter sea level rise, and yeah, a lot of droughts and just shit. So we made a little role play at the EMRC. We had different nations. We had here China, we had developed nations, developing nations, and the United States, and also the European Union. And the goal was to find a compromise in the reduction of the emissions. We had here, everybody could like tell his politics to the other ones, how much they want to reduce the annual rate of emissions. Also the deforestation, afforestation, and the goal was to find a common like goal for temperature increase of less than 2 degrees. This was the goal. With our group, we came to plus 2.4 degrees, because the problem in our role play was United States, as you can imagine. They wanted to go down 1%. After long speaking with the other nations, the biggest problem was also developed nations said they will just decrease or reduce the emissions if United States is doing this. So they didn't agree until United States agreed to reduce the emissions. But still with 1%, they will have the highest emissions per capita in 2100. So that's why you will just have plus 2.4 degrees increase. And you can see sea level rise is 1 meter it is. Scott Brute, I told you before about it, he is from EPA. He is the administrator. And this is his statement. Asked his view on the role of carbon dioxide, the heat trapping gas produced by burning fossil fuels is in increasing global warming. Mr. Brute said on some interview, I think that measuring with precision human activity on the climate is something very challenging to do, and there is disagreement about the degree of impact. So no, I would not agree that there is a primary contributor to the global warming that we see. So he said in a statement in television or in some newspaper or whatever, that he doesn't see that the humans have an impact on climate change. And you can see this is going on the White House page. There is written under Trump, we're currently updating like on EPA, and the first statements are already replaced. Under Obama it was, President Obama believes that no challenge poses a greater threat to our children, our planet, blah blah And President Trump just changed it is committed to eliminating harmful and unnecessary policies such as the Climate Action Plan and the Waters of the West rule. So it's a little bit different. And also here, a big statement against climate change. Trump changed it to the impacts of climate change have led the department to focus on how we manage our nation's public land and resources. That's all. And he was written about dramatically affect water supplies and impact coastal wetlands and everything. But Trump just changed it in several months. But the good thing is NASA still works. Maybe can you take this? Huh?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, perfect.
Just need some time.
The good thing is NASA still works because Trump has not so much power until now. And NASA has here like animation how much the sea level would rise and which areas would be flooded. So whole Miami would be flooded if the sea level will rise 6 meters globally. And already at 1 or 2 meters, there's also flooded areas, I guess. Yes, like New Orleans already with 1 meter would be really affected actually. And also, yes, with 2 meters, bye-bye New Orleans. And there's also other things like the carbon dioxide, I guess. Yes. And you can see here, like until 2014, how also the CO2 emissions, how they grow annually. It was the same as the other video, the same data, but you can see this is a big change actually from 355 to nearly 400 in the end. So actually we have all this data, and even Americans have this data. And now Macron, as Dr. Jurek said, is trying to get all the researchers from America. There is data, but the policy will not change because of Trump, probably. Just the European Union will try their best, I guess. So I think that's a nice point for discussion, like how the policies would work in, like your opinion. What is your opinion? What can we do actually to, get Trump, like the T thinks also the climate change is real? How can we pursue him?
I have a question to you, Flo.
Yes.
Because the main argument, I think, of the opponents of the theory and conception of global warming is the so-called climate cycle, that this warming which we observe now is only the natural change in the climate, and does exist any research which are able to prove the climate changes before 19th century, so as to reject such theory of the opponents of global warming, because as we know, the weather analysis started since 19th century, and does exist the research of the supporter of the fight with the global warming, which can reject this theory of the natural climate change.
Like if I understand correctly, like we have this data of the emissions and we have the data of the global temperature that is rising. Like the first two graphs I showed you, like this data here, it's really getting warmer, and you saw the emissions that are increasing, like in a NASA video. So this is our like proof that climate change is human-made, because this like rise of temperature, this is not normal in this short time period. It was like 100 years. It's 0.4 degrees in global temperature rising. It was always changing a little bit, of course, in the ice time and before and afterwards, but never that high in such a short period. I guess that's.
Yeah.
And 97% of scientists say actually that global change is human-made. Just 3% still say that it's bullshit.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, because all the proxy data are the data from the changes in the landscape and changes in the content of the carbon dioxide trapped in the air, in the snow and in the ice. They show that there have been natural changes in climate all of the Earth's history, but never so strong. You know, this is like a step to a completely different world in 1 century, which has never happened before. You know.
I only would like to add that I hear that there are some theory that if the global warming will be in progress, and if we change climate in such a way that the climate will be now possible to control, it is also the risk of the fast decreasing of the temperature, because the climate will be so deregulate that everything is possible. And the basic fact about global warming is the regulation of climate, cold winter and the very warm summer in the many parts of Europe. So when we regulate our climate, everything is possible with the weather. So
it's actually not about just going up on the temperature. It's about adding energy to all the processes that are happening. So the dynamics is getting much more vigorous in what happens. So thunderstorms get stronger. There's more water held in the clouds before they fall, so there's more precipitation over the same period of time, if you know what I'm trying to say. So it's easier to get flash floods, it's easier to get prolonged droughts, it's easier to see changes in the normals that we have detected as our climate, you know. So the future climate is going to be much more unbalanced, much more destabilized, because there's more heat. Like if you put a pot of water on the stove and you start heating it, you still see, you know, like it's heating up and it's circulating faster and faster before it starts to boil, you know. So that's what happens to climate. We're boiling the atmosphere this way.
My last word, some people say that we have cold winter this year, so it is the against theory of global warming, but as you told, this imbalance of the weather is the basically proof of the global warming, because it isn't in such a way that we have cold winter and it denies the theory of global warming, but it can prove this theory, because as you told, the weather is very unbalanced due to global warming.
Yeah, but I think the unbalance and the new things that are happening, the extremes, are actually proving that something's changing. You know, it's not that we are detecting them more and talking about them more. They really do happen more often, you know. So, of course, one strong winter doesn't deny global warming. That's what we should keep in mind, you know. That's what I think. Well, I think political change and political drive is here, obviously, because when we look at European countries, and not only European countries, also Asian countries, they are trying to, you know, like find ways to change their energy policy, to change the way they're looking at greenhouse gas emissions. And I think we've got a nice example, for example, from Norway. I don't know if you know what's happening in Norway currently about energy policy. Does anybody know? Do you remember anything? Reading about it? About their cars. Norway is the largest, actually, the largest producer of oil, if we don't count Russia into Europe. Sorry for that. But apart from Russia, it's the largest producer of oil and gas in Europe, actually. And they are talking about getting rid of gas cars. You know, they're trying to get all their cars electric by 2030. And it may seem like an idealistic goal that can't be reached, but already this year, more than half of new cars sold in Norway were either hybrid or electric this year, and we've got 13 years to go. So what you need is the charging stations. You need to build the grid to charge the car, and you need to get the people to understand that this is possible, that this is the new standard. And Denmark, Netherlands, Estonia, other countries are joining, although Norway is far too much in front of everybody else. But what I think is also interesting is to see that India is also thinking about getting rid of gas cars by the same year. you know, India, you know, and that's because they are now at the point where the middle class is going to buy cars, you know, and they want to prevent them from buying gas cars, you know, in the first place. Once you start buying cars, go electric immediately, you know, skip that part of 20th century, you know, transport and go 21st century immediately, you know. So they're also thinking about getting their grid ready for charging cars and start producing cars, you know, electric. Electric car today is expensive and it doesn't look like it's running as good as the gas car. But how did first gas cars look like? You know, like you have to think of the evolution, and once there is enough production, if it's mass enough, if it's enough cars to be built every year, then the costs will fall, you know, they will plummet, and it will be cheaper for everybody to get it. That's one of my, you know, points of view in this. And solving air pollution at the same time in cities, which India and China are also fighting to do, you know. So maybe that's also why they're doing it, because they don't want to choke themselves to death, you know, with all the new cars. Okay, any other suggestions, opinions? Tell us more. We don't want to be the only ones speaking.
Also, from other countries, you can just type a question to the chat if you have a short question. Or you can just also use Skype, and we will call you on Skype. There is a link on the EGEA official group, so just write us a message or type in a question. We will see, huh?
Is there anybody typing anything?
Yes, we have like comments.
Oh,
like
poor Luciana here.
Hello from Austria. Okay, okay. See us aus Graz. But until now, no questions.
No questions. Okay. Any questions from you here? No questions.
No questions.
Maybe we have told everything necessary. Or maybe we have disappointed your expectations. Did you expect anything else? Just tell us.
It's first try, huh?
Nobody's writing anything. Well, one thing that's interesting about the Paris Agreement, for example, which is the one I told you before Florentin took his speech, is that the previous, how was the previous protocol called? The Kyoto Protocol. This was done only for the advanced nations, and everybody had a set goal, like how many % of their carbon emissions should be cut by the given period of time. So it was decided from above, you know, and the Paris Agreement is totally different in their commitment, because what they're trying to do is to let everybody decide what they can do. You know, if you look at the website of the Paris Agreement, there are the national goals that are, you know, committed by each country. So every party of the treaty can actually say what they're willing to do. And I think this willing, you know, is much more useful than knowing we have to do that. Because if we have to do that, and we are in threat of having to pay a lot of money, like for example, Canada, Australia, the United States were afraid that they will have to pay a lot of money for not completing the goal. They just simply, you know, resign from the treaty. They draw back and they say, no, we're no longer interested in the Kyoto Protocol, because they would have to be punished, you know. And if you do it in the Paris Agreement style, then it's like I have made my honest statement, my promise that I will keep up to something, and it's only up to me, and my punishment will be the shame, you know, that I get from not doing it.
We have actually one question here from
Okay.
Graz. How worrying would you say has the brain drain in Europe been? And since it may reverse, are there plans for more funding and positions in Europe?
Well, I'm not in the position of funding, so I'm only hoping that it has some effect, you know, because they have been always trying to fight the United States in the brain drain, you know, like so many people have decided to choose the United States as their scientific position because they felt like the science there is more advanced. And now if all these people come here, they can only help European science, right?
Mhm.
That's what I think.
So it's nice also Macron from France.
Yeah, well, so far we know that they're not cutting the budget, you know. We don't know if they're adding up to the budget, but if there's interest from scientists coming into Europe, maybe they will find money for that, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay?
Oh, here are more questions. How can more people be convinced to buy e-cars? I think the biggest argument is that they are not enough developed so far.
Yeah, well, subsidies, like actually the subsidy may look like it's something wrong, but it may be telling you what's right, you know. If you finally put tax on something dirty that was not taxed before because just nobody did care, you know, you can finally see that, you show people this is easier. And when they were doing this in Denmark, it really worked because people started buying electric cars with much more interest. And then once the tax system changed back, the speed of buying new cars, electric cars, has slowed again. So obviously this kind of motive for a normal person is important. You know, if the price is working, you know. And actually fighting climate change is not, in my opinion, only necessarily leading to losing money, but it can also create opportunities for jobs, for you know, saving money on not using fossil fuels and solving problems with healthcare and stuff that's caused by the old ways of technology. That's what I think. Okay, any other questions?
Okay. Yeah, here, how is it possible that Trump's administration doesn't consider climate changes? Good question. Huh?
Yes, good question. Well, I am flattered by that myself. I don't know, and I'm still thinking about it. Like, how can they see that this is going to lead somewhere constructive? You know, I don't know if it's money in the big companies somewhere, in the oil companies. Because with the Bush administration, something like that happened with oil as well. You know,
I think there's also new pipelines. Like Obama canceled this one pipeline, and yeah, he did this first thing. He wrote this, this, how is it called in English? The order or something to just build it again.
Yeah, the decrease.
Yes,
something like that.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, and it's stupidity, I guess.
Your electric cars are as green as your energy source. That's true. That's why in the United States they say that getting electric cars actually is polluting more, but that's because they're creating their electricity from coal. And is it a problem of the electric car? No, because you know, if you change your energy resources, then you can get the green energy even into the cars.
Yes.
And one thing's quite interesting about the electric cars, because one of the biggest problems with solar energy and renewables in general is how to store the energy, how to get the daily, you know, intake of energy overnight and get the balance into it. And if there's enough electric cars at night plugged in, they're actually taking the energy into the batteries already, you know, so they're actually even playing on this balancing the renewable energy mix by having more cars with batteries that will already take the energy.
Here I have a question for Czech Republic, because there are a lot of solar power plants or like photovoltaics, but people actually don't like it because there is problem with subventions or something, because they build on good land that should be also for agriculture. So people don't like it.
But this is a legal problem of how the law was written in the beginning and what it allowed to do with the subsidies, with starting the power plants and where they were built. So I don't think it's the problem of the solar energy itself. It's the problem how we manage the whole thing in the legal way. You know, now we have to pay a lot of money to. We have to pay a lot of money for renewables here, but that's because the system was set in such a way. You know, it's not the fault of the energy. I think, you know, because it's the same photovoltaic panels as in Austria and Germany. Yeah. So obviously the problems on the side of the legislation in the Czech Republic, not in the technology.
Here is one more from Skype. maybe we can discuss what we as geographers can do about climate change, or what is the responsibility of our and upcoming generations? How can we spread awareness? That's a good question, yeah.
Well, not be afraid that this is a boring topic that we should no longer talk about. Not to think that people already understand the topic, because this is such a complex topic that people actually don't see the whole picture. They only hear small excerpts, usually by politicians or on TV. And so if you as a geographer keep talking about the topic and keep explaining the topic, you know, you can do a lot. And you should also do your research how to apply certain local solutions into keeping up with energy change and all these kinds of stuff that are going on. You know?
You also tried in our workshop to make a video, because there were these videos like America first, but Czech Republic second, or Slovenia second, or whatever. And we tried to make a video like also to pursue Trump, that climate change is real, that hazards are rising, and it's actually on EGEA TV. We will show it here afterwards. Everybody here can watch it on the EGEA TV channel now. So if you're interested in this, this was like our concept, what we did in our workshop. Like it was just for 4 hours we created this video really fast, but I think if you make a good video, it could be a funny way to also reach people, because this America first, Czech Republic second, it reached many people, and there's a lot of truth behind it, I guess, in my opinion. And this is a nice way to show it to people.
We've got more questions here on the live chat. For example, aren't electric cars much more expensive than conventional diesel cars? Well, that's the thing, they're cheaper now. The diesel cars are cheaper now because they're mass produced, and you don't have to do anything, you don't have to do too much to produce them. And with electric cars, you are still, finding ways how to. And there's a limited market, so not very many people are buying them. But once you get over the tipping point of what's more interesting to the consumers, the prices will have to change. Like the prices for electric cars will have to go down. What do you think is the greenest source of energy? Well, I think this is good for asking you. What do you think is the greenest source of energy? Which source of energy do you consider the most green, the most ecological, environmentally friendly? Wind energy. So one idea is that it's wind energy. Anybody else? Solar energy. Solar energy. Hydropower. Yeah. Well, I would also think that the greenest source of energy is saving it. Not spending what I don't need to spend. I think once you don't need to plug it in. Once you can plug it in, and it takes 10% of what it used to take 10 years ago, which is, for example, how we do our lighting today. Compared to the normal bulbs, we've got the LED lights that really actually do 10% of energy intake. And if you do this to all the other things that we consume, and sometimes don't consume something we don't need to, I think that's a huge source, of not needing energy. But definitely, wind power, solar power, and hydropower are something that we can achieve the most easily.
What about nuclear power?
Well, I'm not against that. I'm not against that myself personally, but it's a complicated issue because there's the waste,
Yes.
and we still haven't managed this part of what to do with the waste, the nuclear waste. Because about safety, I think we know very well what to do,
Well, that's,
But of course, the opinions differ across Europe. But the biggest problem is the waste, So we should start. We are working on it. The scientists are working on it. What to do with the waste and find a solution.
Actually, it was the exact answer in Temelin, because I was in Temelin 1 week ago.
I don't have that answer from you. It's from my head.
And they told me, after 60 years of storage in Temelin, we hope that there's a solution from France, because they're working on it and they have too much nuclear waste, so they will hopefully find solutions. Yeah. actually they have no solution in Temelin, so I was surprised actually.
Maybe they will take our waste as source, you know.
Well, actually, the technology is there is a technology for the waste from this, but it's too expensive for us, so it's not in the family. It's in France, but it's too expensive for us, so it's not in our power plant in Temelin. So that's the problem, maybe.
So once we get enough money, we can get it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice to hear.
Money is always a solution.
Okay. Any more questions?
Actually, a lot of.
It always comes to it. The question is what to.
Maybe we have here nuclear power, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you think the German eliminating of nuclear power plants is the right way? Isn't it just a way which will prolong time to get rid of fossil fuels?
Yeah, that's also what I see now, because actually phasing out of fossil fuels was a decade ago seen as through the way of nuclear energy. That's why Angela Merkel didn't want to get rid of nuclear powers in Germany, actually, and why Austrians still don't understand why we in Central Europe need all those power plants. I understand your concern, but I think this was like seen as a solution. Nuclear energy will solve the problem, you know. But now we see what happens next.
Actually, I understand this better now. I was from Austria, and yeah, I had this. Yeah, Temelin is bad because actually in our news there's a problem in Temelin. I did research, and there was since 2000, since Temelin was installed, there was more than 160 reported like problems in Temelin. And I asked this in Temelin, and this was just small problems, but actually it was like water is going out and contaminated water. So in Austria it was always a big deal, and last year they were shutting down the whole power plant for like weeks, I think. And then there was another problem after they did it restart again. So there were a lot of problems last year, and this was always in Austrian news, but in Czech Republic, I asked my friends, there was nothing.
Yeah, because we take it as the people know what they're doing, and we are just reporting it to do the open policy of saying everything that's happening, you know. If there's a small leak, we already report about it, you know. And of course, if somebody in the journalism wants to make it a big news, he does it, you know, because that's what they want to read, you know.
But I understand, because you have too much coal, and coal affects people immediately, and nuclear power just affects them in 60 years. So actually I understand the point of view why the politics want to build more Temelin, because they want to build 2 new reactors, I heard, in some years. I think in 3 or 4 years they want to build new reactors, and you want to decrease the coal, and that's the only thing you want in your policy. I understand this point of view better, because I live here now and I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, here's a comment, because solar panels should be recycled in the end, and this process is very toxic. And it turns out that every green source have a dark side. Well, yeah, everything that we do has a bright side and a dark side in a way, you know. And you can't find, you know, like this magical perpetuum mobile that easily, you know. Even with solar panels, with wind energy, you will have these issues. Maybe the hydropower is the easiest, because it's gravity that's actually forcing this whole thing to work, you know. But
it influences, like,
we don't have that many mountains. You have noticed that. Noted that before, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any more comments from you here? No ideas?
You hear about the monsoon in India? What about the monsoon in India, which is getting lower? Deficit of rain in Southeast Asia can be a serious problem. How to find a solution for a future lack of water in this region?
This is a huge problem, because of course this changes in the monsoon may be only temporary. We can't predict that. But what's already reported is the melting of glaciers in the Asian mountains. You know, so many populations in China, India, and in the other nations of that part of Asia are relying on the natural dams that are actually there without damming any water. It's the glacier that's growing in winter and then melting in the summer and putting water into the river. But if the glacier melts and it doesn't grow in the winter, then these populations lose their source of water. So they're now thinking of building the dams before the glaciers melt so that the water stays there, although it's not solid anymore. So maybe they're now planning to build a lot of dams in Asia because they want to stop the water to from running away. That's what I have heard. Okay?
And there is one more, like, are there any positive consequences from climate change? For example, in some regions, the warmer and humid climate grows more agricultural crops.
Of course, you will have regions that will benefit, but they will benefit in getting something that they didn't have before. So will they be ready for that? You know, they will have to adapt to the change. They will, of course, wine growing in England will be again an issue, you know, which has been before. And then with the ice age, little ice age has vanished, you know. But I think the negative consequences of climate change are much more pronounced than the positive ones. So, yeah, of course there will be positive changes, you know, but I think they will be minor. So I wouldn't heat up.
And is there any way for international entities like the IPCC or the UN to offer research and knowledge on climate change on the people in the US in spite of now compromised EPA?
Well, I think this is for them to negotiate because it's a new situation, new political situation that has started in January this year in the United States. So I'm sure that they will be preparing something and offering it soon, you know, but they can't just hand it over the next week. So it takes some time. Okay. So if that's all and you don't have any more comments here in the room, and we don't see any more comments here in the live chat, maybe now Florentin could send the link to the video that you did, right? And we can put it on here.
Yeah, like here. Yeah.
No, first give it to them on the live chat, and then we'll find it here.
But they have it anywhere, like in the EGEA TV channel. There is the video. It's uploaded today.
So they know.
How to explain to people that global warming exists after the snow in the end of April?
That's it. That's the adding energy to the system, which means that air masses from far from the north have enough energy to move to Europe. You know, like the scale of extreme is just growing. That's how I would explain. You know. So maybe we can call this part of the e-lecture as the finished, done. And we're glad for you joining us, and thank you very much for participation. Thank you very much.
Here.
And also here in this room. So thank everybody. Okay?
So then we will.
Okay, now we can
end here. Bye bye.